All right, let's dive into Toy Story. It's the film that kind of launched us all to infinity and beyond,
Mm.
with talking toys and heart and all that. And you've shared some really cool research on this Pixar classic, so we're going to unpack it, see how this movie changed animation, and why it still connects with audiences even today.
Well, it's wild to think this was the very first completely computer animated feature film. Pixar was taking a huge risk, and they ended up creating something really magical.
Yeah, I was blown away when I learned about the tech they used. RenderMan software, cutting edge back then. Can you imagine the hurdles they had to overcome to bring these toys to life digitally? Like, how'd they make the movements feel real and believable?
Absolutely. It really shows the animator's skill, their artistry, figuring out how plastic and cloth move realistically, capturing those subtle facial expressions, and all within this brand new digital world.
Yeah, and they nailed it. You totally buy that these toys are alive. But it's not just the technical stuff. Toy Story tackles some pretty deep themes, too, like identity becoming obsolete, what friendship really means. Who knew a movie about talking toys could be so profound?
It's one of the reasons Toy Story is so enduring. Works on so many levels. Kids love the adventure, the funny parts. Adults pick up on the more subtle themes and the nostalgia it brings back.
Okay, so let's break down this secret world where toys come alive when people aren't looking. It's a brilliant idea, right? Taps into that childhood fantasy we all had. But what's really interesting is how Toy Story uses this concept to mirror our anxieties about being replaced as we get older.
Exactly. It's not just kid stuff. Like, think about Woody's fear of being replaced by Buzz. That feeling of being threatened by someone new, younger, someone who seems to have it all. I think we can all relate to that.
Totally. It's like that feeling you get when the newest gadget comes out and suddenly your old phone feels ancient. Or that wave of insecurity when a new person joins the team and they seem to be getting all the attention. Toy Story takes those very real grown-up fears and puts them onto a kid's fear of a new toy.
Brilliant, isn't it? And then there's Buzz, dealing with a whole other kind of identity crisis. He's built with this idea of being a space ranger, a hero, larger than life. But when that belief is shattered, he has to face who he actually is. It's like that moment we all have when we realize we're not who we thought we were, when our carefully crafted self-image falls apart.
It's almost like Pixar took the classic hero's journey and flipped it. Buzz's victory isn't about conquering space. It's about conquering his own self-doubt and accepting who he really is.
Powerful message, right? Especially for kids who are constantly bombarded with images of perfection and achievement. Toy Story tells them it's okay not to be the superhero, the star athlete. You don't have to be the person everyone expects you to be.
And it does all of this while being hilarious and entertaining. I mean, who doesn't love that scene where Buzz tries to fly and just crashes into a pile of building blocks? It's a classic slapstick. But it's also this really poignant moment of realization for Buzz.
Pixar is a master at blending humor and emotion, making you laugh one minute, then bringing you to tears the next.
Yeah, it's that emotional roller coaster that keeps us coming back for more. But before we get into the deeper themes and lasting impact of Toy Story, let's zoom in on the supporting characters in Andy's room. They're not just sidekicks, they're a whole community, each one bringing something unique to the mix.
They really do create this little microcosm of society. You've got Woody, the leader, Buzz, the newcomer, trying to find where he fits in, Mr. Potato Head, the cynic, Slinky Dog, the loyal friend, and Rex, the anxious worrier. Like a small family, with all its quirks and complexities.
Oh, and we can't forget Bo Peep, the voice of reason. Always loved her character. She's strong, independent, doesn't let the boys get away with too much.
Yeah, she's a great example of how Pixar's female characters have evolved over time. Bo Peep has a much bigger role in the later films. She's a real force to be reckoned with.
It's great to see how she's become more than just Woody's love interest. She's her own person, with her own goals and ambitions. But amidst all this warmth and camaraderie in Andy's room, there's a darker side to the story lurking next door.
Oh, yeah, Sid. Andy's toy-torturing neighbor, he's like the embodiment of childhood fear. That kid who doesn't get the value of toys, sees them just as objects to be messed with and broken.
His experiments are funny in a kind of creepy way, but they also tap into a deeper fear. The fear of being misunderstood, mistreated, being at the mercy of someone who sees the world totally differently than you do.
And that contrast between Andy's loving care and Sid's cruelty is really important to the story. It highlights how vulnerable these toys are, how dependent they are on the humans around them.
It makes you think about the power dynamics, how easily innocence can be taken advantage of, but it also makes you appreciate the warmth and safety of Andy's room even more.
It's a reminder that home isn't just a place, it's a feeling. And for these toys, Andy's room represents that feeling of belonging, of being loved and cherished for who they are. Toy Story isn't just a, fun adventure about talking toys. It actually gets into some pretty deep philosophical stuff, like existential anxieties, the kind we all carry around, even if we don't realize it.
Well, existentialism in a kid's movie. Okay, I'm listening.
Well, think about it. The toys' whole world revolves around Andy, right? Their purpose, who they are, even their sense of self-worth. It's all tied to being played with, being loved by this one kid.
So what happens when Andy grows up? When he moves on, maybe even forgets about them?
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
Exactly. The fear of being forgotten, abandoned, replaced. Those are deep fears, and they resonate with all of us, not just kids, adults too.
It's fascinating how Toy Story takes these universal fears and makes us actually empathize with these plastic characters.
Yeah.
It's like Pixar saying, hey, these toys might be inanimate, but their struggles are reflections of our own. Right, and they do it so cleverly, weaving these big ideas into a story that's entertaining and makes you think. It's not just about the fear of being replaced, it's about finding your place, accepting who you are, and the importance of friendship and community.
Yeah, those themes run throughout the whole movie. It's like a tapestry of emotions, with laughter and sadness, fear, and ultimately, hope. But you know what really struck me? Toy Story explores these deep themes without ever being preachy or talking down to the audience.
Exactly. It's subtle, nuanced, and always entertaining.
It's brilliant. You can watch it as a kid and be totally absorbed in the adventure, then watch it again as an adult and discover all these new layers of meaning.
Yeah, like Pixar knew we'd grow up with these characters, and that the film would keep speaking to us in different ways as we went through life.
And they didn't shy away from the tougher stuff either. Remember Sid? Andy's toy-torturing neighbor.
Oh, yeah, Sid. He's a great example of how Pixar isn't afraid to show the darker side of childhood. He represents those fears we all have about the unknown, the unpredictable, the potential for cruelty that exists in the world.
And his experiments on those poor toys, they're hilarious, but also terrifying. It's like a twisted reflection of Andy's innocent play.
Right. Sid forces us to see how vulnerable these toys are, how dependent they are on the people around them.
It makes the warmth and friendship in Andy's room feel even more important.
Definitely.
It's like a safe haven from the chaos out there.
It's that contrast that gives the story its depth. It's not just about toys going on adventures. It's about their struggle to find meaning in a world that doesn't always understand them.
And it's about how friendship helps them overcome those challenges. Like that scene where all the toys band together to rescue Woody and Buzz from Sid's house.
Oh, yeah. That's a perfect example of how Toy Story celebrates community and working together. These toys might be different, they argue sometimes, but when it matters, they support each other.
Right, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts and all that.
Exactly. And that message of unity and sticking together, it's something we need more of these days.
So, speaking of today, let's talk about Toy Story's legacy. This film wasn't just a hit, it completely changed animation. It ushered in a whole new era of filmmaking.
It's hard to overstate the impact Toy Story had. Before it, animation was basically hand-drawn cartoons, mostly for kids. But Toy Story showed that computer animation could be just as expressive, just as emotional, just as capable of telling complex stories.
It was a game changer, like a signal that a new kind of cinema had arrived. And not just for kids. Adults love Toy Story, too.
Absolutely.
The humor, the heart, the groundbreaking visuals.
Suddenly, animation wasn't just a genre, it was a medium. A powerful way to tell stories that could appeal to everyone.
And it wasn't just the tech, it was how Toy Story blended those cutting-edge visuals with classic storytelling, creating characters that were both relatable and iconic.
Yeah, Woody and Buzz, Mr. Potato Head, Slinky Dog, Rex. They've become cultural icons, instantly recognizable, loved by generations of fans.
And the catchphrases, "To infinity and beyond, there's a snake in my boot, you've got a friend in me." Those lines are part of our culture now.
Absolutely.
They instantly take us back to that childhood sense of wonder.
It's that mix of technical innovation, memorable characters, and timeless storytelling. That's what makes Toy Story such a phenomenon. It's a film that continues to inspire, entertain, and make us think.
And it launched this massive franchise with sequels that have expanded on the themes, introduced new characters, pushed the limits of animation even further. But you know what's amazing? The sequels haven't tarnished the original's magic at all.
Right.
They've actually made it stronger.
They've built on the foundation that Toy Story laid. exploring those themes in fresh new ways and introducing characters like Jessie, Bullseye, Lotso, who have become just as loved as the original gang.
It's like Pixar has created this whole universe of toys, each with their own story to tell.
Yeah.
And each film adds another layer to the experience.
It shows Pixar's commitment to quality, their ability to make stories that really connect with us emotionally. They haven't just churned out sequels for the money. They've poured their hearts into each film, making sure it lives up to the original.
And the animation. It's incredible how far things have come since that first movie. The textures, the lighting, the detail in the characters' faces. It's mind-blowing.
It really is like watching real life. The level of realism is amazing, but they never lose sight of the story, the characters, the heart of what makes Toy Story special.
That's what sets Pixar apart. They're not just animators, they're storytellers. They get that technology is just a tool. The real magic comes from the characters, the emotions, the connections they make with the audience.
It's about making us laugh, cry, think about the world differently, and Toy Story, in all its forms, keeps doing that.
You know, it's just amazing how Toy Story pulls it off, being this groundbreaking technical achievement, and also this timeless story about friendship, finding yourself, the power of imagination.
It's not easy to do both. I mean, you see a lot of films that look incredible, but lack depth, or, stories that really move you, but they're not technically impressive. Toy Story nails both.
It really does. Like, they found the sweet spot between art and technology, art and humor. And it's not just kids who love it. Adults connect with Toy Story on a whole different level.
Oh, absolutely. I think for many adults, Toy Story brings back this nostalgia for their own childhoods, when things felt simpler, when imagination ran wild.
Yeah, it reminds us of the fun of playing, the comfort of our favorite toys, the friendships that, shaped us. And it makes you realize those feelings, those connections, they don't have to disappear just because we grow up.
It's like Pixar saying, hold on to that childlike wonder, that sense of awe and possibility. It's important, actually.
And they do it in a way that's both smart and relatable. There's a depth to the storytelling you don't often see in stuff made for kids.
You're right. It's like they respect their audience, young and old. They trust we can handle complex themes and emotions. They're not afraid to make you laugh, then cry, all within a few minutes.
Toy Story really does play with your emotions.
Right.
You go from laughing out loud to tearing up so quickly. And somehow, it all feels real, genuine.
It's because they've made characters we truly care about. We see ourselves in Woody's insecurities, in Buzz's journey of self-discovery, and how the whole toy game sticks together.
Yeah, we root for them, we laugh with them, we cry with them, and when they win, we feel like we've won too.
That's what makes Toy Story more than just a good movie. It's an experience you don't forget.
It sticks with you. Long after the credits roll, you find yourself thinking about it days, weeks later.
That's the sign of a true classic, isn't it? A film that goes beyond time, beyond generations, and it keeps connecting with people.
It's become part of our culture, this shared experience that brings us together, no matter our age, background, beliefs.
And its legacy keeps growing. The sequels have expanded on the themes, introduced new characters, pushed the boundaries of what animation can do.
It's amazing to think that a film so groundbreaking back in 1995 is still so powerful and relevant today. It really shows the power of stories, the magic of animation, and the enduring appeal of these characters.
Absolutely. So next time you watch Toy Story, whether it's your first time or your 100th, take a minute to appreciate everything that makes it so special.
Yeah, pay attention to the details in the animation, the subtle expressions on the characters' faces, the way the music builds at just the right moment.
And remember the message at the heart of it all. Friendship is precious. Imagination is a superpower. And there's always room for wonder in our lives, no matter how old we get.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Toy Story. We hope you enjoyed going behind the scenes of this cinematic masterpiece with us.
And remember, there's always more to discover in Andy's room. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and hold on to that childlike curiosity.